Hey there, fellow wanderers. Welcome back to the Wandering Gypsy RV Life podcast. I'm your host, Stan Cromlish, coming to you today from Birdie B in beautiful Davie, Florida, at the Davie Fort Lauderdale KOA Holiday. We're here for the PRCA's Southeastern Circuit Finals. But today, my special guest is Doug Simcox, who over the last month has been traveling the highways and byways of this great country, seeking out those rodeo stories. He just recently went to Texas on his Texas swing. You can see that beautiful Beyond the Chutes mug. Doug, thank you for joining us today. Look forward to the conversation. And I know our conversation over the last few weeks, some of the problems you've had with the Beyond the Chutes bus. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Stan. Great to be back on the show with you. Last time we had a conversation to sit down and do it on camera, we were in the BTC bus in Mountain Cove, Georgia, at Marlon Harris's Cowboy Reunion down there. What a great weekend that was.
Absolutely, it was a great weekend, even though one of our buddies decided to cause me a little bit of black tank blues.
I
And
remember that. You wrote a song about that.
I did, and it is out on Facebook and YouTube. Check it out. It's called The Black Tank Blues, written by Stan Cromlish with AI doing the music and vocals. I played it for Jerry and Mindy last night. They fell on the floor laughing.
It's a good song. I've enjoyed it.
Good deal. So you went on the Texas swing, and you were talking that you had some BTC bus issues. So let's jump right in there.
Yeah, big run. Left Louisville here and went down through Memphis, went down through Nashville to Memphis to Little Rock, ended up in Sulphur Springs. Uh, got a chance to go visit Dalen Swearingen, 2022 PBR World Champion. Got to tour his farm with his dad and with Dalen, and had a great visit there. And then we were off and busy, headed down to Weatherford, Texas, to record with Glenn Bird, who's a four-time IRA bull riding championship. I believe 63 or 64 was his first bull riding championship, and two-time all around, and just had a blast talking to him. Sat and talked with him for a little bit over 2 hours, Stan. And then from there, got in the bus and drove up to Mineral Springs, I believe it was, Mineral Wells, maybe. Ronnie Williams was up there, 8-time IRA bareback bronc riding champion. Again, sat with him for a couple hours. Sam was with me, had a wonderful visit. And then we headed to Wiley, Texas for a Sunday afternoon bull riding. Kelly Clark put on the Shoot 2 Productions bull riding, and it was excellent. Great show, great crowd on the parking lot of a church stand. And
Oh, wow.
just the right setup, the right feel. A bunch of bull riders there. Actually, a cowgirl rode a bull. A lot of fun. And then after that, I invited Wild West Ward. I don't know if you remember him, the bareback bronc riding champion, out of Texas, out of Oklahoma, actually. Made famous by Mesquite Rodeo when it was on every Saturday night or whatever. Wild West Ward. He came across, he was actually announcing that bull riding. He came across and we sat in the BTC bus, and the stuff I learned. And all that episode will be coming out. It'll probably be a couple episodes. Just so much knowledge all the way through. And then I headed from Wiley. I had to head way back north and west of Fort Worth, about 2 hours to get up to Kelly Clark's ranch up there and the Buckhorn. And Kelly Clark, I mean, IRA, past president, board member for a number of years, bull rider, bareback rider, son of the famous Johnny Clark. several-time bull riding champion of the IRA back in the early 60s. And he's got a building called the Buckhorn, and it is magnificent. Probably 1,000 square feet, maybe a little bit bigger than that. Stuff full of pictures and memorabilia and saddles and some. He's got a pair of Gene Autry's pickup man's chaps when Gene Autry was in the RCA.
Wow, wow. That sounds like you had an epic trip. So, what's going on with the BTC bus during
Okay,
this
I'm
trip?
I'm I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Um, there was a lot going on. So Sunday night after the bull riding, I'm driving back across, and I'm actually a little bit south of Fort Worth. Decide I'm going to stop and get fuel,
Okay.
and didn't I didn't think I'd gotten good fuel. I put about 100 gallons in. It holds 200. Put about 100 gallons in, and I got a little panicked and woke up the next morning. I had 3/4 of a gallon of Lucas fuel treatment that I usually will put in. It'll treat up to 400 gallons. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm a long ways from home. And if I run into fuel trouble, that'll be a long road home, a long ride home. So I dumped all 3/4 of a gallon of it into my fuel.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I drove
Mm-hmm.
from there the next morning, got up and drove up to Kelly's place, had a wonderful day, as I said, and jumped back in the truck the next morning, and I'm headed back to Sulphur Springs, Texas, and the truck has never run so good.
Awesome. That sounds great. That sounds great. I got a little story to tell piggybacking on your fuel treatment. Last week, as you know, I was at the Family RV Association's Greater Eastern Area Rally. Kevin and Patrice McCabe do the RV There Yet television show on Discovery. Kevin had a seminar at the Carolina RV dealership, and they are sponsored by Starbright products. And one of the Starbright products is the Startron enzyme fuel system treatment. So I bought a couple of bottles of it. Skeptical. I'm always skeptical with fuel additives, always. But Birdie B in two fill-ups went from 5.4 miles to the gallon to 6.9 miles per gallon. I was thoroughly impressed with that product.
Yep, yep. I can't say enough for the fuel additives, whether it's that or Power Service or whatever you're going to use, the Lucas. I've been using that for years. And
Mm-hmm.
in the diesel, you can add like an octane booster. It's called cetane boost
Yes. Yes.
for the diesel fuel. And it cleans, I mean, the Lucas cleans and lubricates, and it blew something loose. I'm telling you, because the turbo was working better than it ever had. So that
Wow.
was the first. Whoa, I think I made a mistake buying cheap fuel. As it turned out, it wasn't cheap fuel. I just hadn't heard
Mm-hmm.
of the company before.
Okay.
Um, and I'd been cautioned a lot, and when you can go to a place like this and buy it for $2.99 and Love's and everybody else was at $3.49,
Right.
and you're
Right.
putting 100 gallons in. But one thing, if you're doing it around, safe around the house or whatever, but to get caught out with bad fuel. But can't say enough for the fuel additive and that sort of thing.
Good deal. Any other BTC bus issues on the trip?
Well, yeah, a couple.
Okay.
So after we finished up with Kelly's, we went back to Dalen's, interviewed Dalen, had a great conversation with him. Talked a little bit about the concussion recovery protocol he's going through and getting ready for the Unleash the Beast season that's coming up. Um, and decided, and I'd stayed at Mike Fletcher's house out there, Spur On Ministries, and he's got a darn near rodeo ground out there, an arena, and 2 or 3 rigs were already parked there. So I wheeled in and parked, um, and that was a nice day, and it's always great to see Mike. And I got to tour this Spur On Ministries church building, which is spectacular. And he's got a service. It's on Facebook every week at Spur On Ministries, and then headed home and probably had driven about 4 hours and was headed to Memphis, thinking, well, it's about 7 hours, and got to looking, and it's like, well, I'm gonna stay at a Flying J. That's what I do. Flying J pilot loves, go in and pay the $20 and get a reserved parking spot so they leave you alone. Sometimes I can park up front up by the auto uh, gas if they've got enough room for RVs. You don't pay if you do that, and they might have some bus slots. But I decided to head to Memphis, and about halfway, I got to look and said, "Well, I'm gonna hit there at 6 o'clock at night. What am I gonna do sitting at a Flying J at 6 o'clock, right?" So I decided to wheel off and make lunch at a rest stop. Really, really nice
Okay.
rest stop, about an hour south of Little Rock. Okay, running Route 40 up through there, or no, Route 30, I guess it was at that point. And I'm sitting there talking to my daughter on the phone, heating up a piece of pizza in the microwave, and I'd left the truck run. I do that quite a bit. It's a diesel, so you just leave it run. And probably 15 minutes, I hear this alarm go off. And I'm like, oh, I got my tire monitor system in. Do I have a problem with tires? And I get up there,
Okay.
no, it's not tires. My tires are excellent, but my temp gauge is got a red light on it, and it's 190 degrees, which isn't much, which isn't
No,
much.
but 212 is boiling.
Yep, yep. And I normally run about 185 degrees in there anyway, just normal operating temperature. So I turned the truck off and popped the hood, lift the hood off and everything, and discovered that I had a belt tensioner pulley that had broken off. And it's two belts to run the fan belt, fan
Wow.
blade, and that also runs your alternator. So I'm got okay, okay.
You
Luckily,
see
the
my
belt.
expression, Doug. I'm like, woo, okay.
Mhm.
That sounds like you're fixing to have a lot of fun.
Well, and luckily, a bolt, and it was a brand new piece we'd put in last year. Okay,
Okay.
spring loaded, so keeping tension on the belt. And I look there, and I can see the belts are still on there. They haven't gotten torn up, but they're not connected to anything. They're riding the pulley. So I'm able to locate. Fortunately, this tensioner had broke off, about a half-inch diameter bolt, about 4 inches long, had broke off, and the pulley had fallen down, unfortunately fallen down on a shelf behind or in front of the radiator, I should say. So didn't lose the most important part. But
Yes.
here I am, an hour south of Little Rock. I need a new tensioner, and okay, and I'm calling the Volvo dealer. It's a Volvo truck. I'm calling the people that repaired it here in Shelbyville Diesel Repair. What a great bunch they are. And I get to looking, and I discover all I really need, if I could just get that bolt, I could. Okay, and it was easy to get the broken one out. I mean, with my fingers, the whole thing came out. I just need about a 4 inch long by half-inch diameter bolt. That's all I needed.
Okay.
And I figured, instead of the spring, which I didn't have the tensioner spring. I figured, well, I could get a ratchet strap, attach it to the frame, and put enough pressure to MacGyver this thing. Remember MacGyver?
I remember MacGyver, the show from the '80s, and then they did a remake of it from 2018 to 2022. He could fix anything with a band-aid and baling wire.
Well, and that's where I was. I was like, I need to channel my best MacGyver. Okay,
Okay.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I am. I don't know. I'm at least an hour out of Little Rock. Um, so I'm sitting there, and I'm on the phone, and I realize, if I can just locate a bolt. So I get to looking, and is there a Tractor Supply near me? In the meantime, a guy walks up and says, "Hey, driver." My hood's
Right.
open. He goes, "You got a problem?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a problem." "What do you need?" I said, "I just need a bolt." "Oh, come with me. We got a guy over here. He's got a bolt. He does service. He can fix anything." And I'm like, hmm. So we go walking across this rest stop. It's a pretty big rest stop, probably 4 or 5 rows of semis. Go to the way back, and I'm looking. All I see is semis. I don't see a service truck. And I'm like, he's got a bolt in the truck. He got a toolbox. What is this? And he said, no, no, no. He says he can help you, but this other guy's over here. He just won $250,000 at the casino last night. So he's over here. You should come talk to him. They're all talking about it on the radio, right? And I'm like,
Did your spidey
okay.
senses start tingling? Did your
Well, and
spidey senses start tingling?
yeah, and I'm going behind these semis, in between these semis, and I see this semicircle of probably 10, 12 people. And as
Okay.
I walk up, I see this one guy down on one knee, and he's got a stack of cash that thick, not a wad, a
A
stack,
stack.
a
Oh,
stack.
wow.
And of course, $100. And as I'm walking up, he's paying the guy $100. Okay. So I look at this and I'm like, I got no cash. And I said this to him, I got no cash. I'm no good to you. Okay. Odds are
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you my credit card. So I double back and I'm talking to a buddy of mine. And he says, let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you a story. He said, we were at a rest stop. I think it was in Ohio. And he and
Okay.
his brother-in-law were traveling. And same thing. He said, here's this guy. He says he's blind in one eye, can barely see, and he's old and all that. And he said, you walk up, and he says, find the red queen, 3 cards. 3-card
Okay.
Monty, it turns out. 3-card Monty. And pick the right card. I'll give you $100. I'll bet you $100 you can't pick the right card. Well, his brother-in-law says, all right, I'll play. And just notice that there was a bend on the card on the corner of the red queen. So the guy's shuffling and 3 cards are down and his brother-in-law says, I'll pick that one. And he does. And son of a gun, he wins. Guy gives him $100 and he says, let's do double or nothing. Let's do double or nothing. And he's like, okay, what have I got to lose? Oh, shuffles up, and there's that bent card again. He goes, and he turns it over. Son of a gun, he wins. Now he's holding $300.
Okay.
Okay, his brother-in-law, and the guy goes, tell you what, $1,000. You already got 300, $1,000. Let's do it again. And he's like, well, I don't have that kind of money. And the guy goes, your 300 in your ring on your finger against it. Okay. And he's like, okay. The brother-in-law says, okay. They deal out the cards and he picks the one with the bent card. And guess what? It ain't
It
the
was
queen,
not the red queen.
not the red queen. So this happens a lot at rest stops. They
It's a
love
scam.
RVers.
Right. It's a
It's totally
scam.
a scam. It's magic. It's not gambling, it's magic. Okay.
Right.
Odds are, if you were to look, all 3 of those cards were black.
Right.
But my buddy's walking away with his brother-in-law going, dude, and he gave him the ring. Gave him the ring. Beautiful ring. And his brother-in-law says, oh, that wasn't any big deal. That was a $40 ring I lost. But you do a little research on this. Don't get caught up in it. It's a
No.
magic trick. It's a magic trick. Okay.
It's a scam. Folks, it's a
Absolutely a
scam.
scam.
Do not
Absolutely.
get caught up.
No. So there's an RVer tip for you, right?
Yes.
So I get to looking back in the truck, and there's a Tractor Supply about 12 miles away from me in Malvern, Arkansas.
I know where
So,
Malvern is. Yep.
okay, can I make it? I fire up the truck, pull the yeah. Pull the belts off. Takes me about a half hour to get the belts off. Okay.
So that you
Didn't
don't
want to,
ruin the belt.
so I don't ruin the belts. And I take off, and it was about 12 minutes away. And biggest temperature I saw was like 170 degrees I was rolling in. So I was absolutely fine.
Well, you
Um,
had air
so,
flowing over the radiator and over everything, so
right,
yeah.
right. So I pull into this Tractor Supply large enough I could pull in, went in, introduced myself to the manager. Don't know how long I'm going to be here. They didn't have a fence, so I'm figuring worst case I could sleep in the parking lot if I had to. You know, it's probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. I lost at this point about 3 hours. So I went in, found the bolt. It actually was a metric bolt. Found the bolt, bought me a ratchet strap, and took me about 2 minutes to fix it and about another hour to put the belts back on.
Okay.
Okay. But I got them on, got ratcheting up. And at this point, I'd lost about 3.5 hours from the time I stopped, take off, and I decided I'm going to stay in Little Rock. Okay.
Right.
So Flying J. So I pull into the Flying J, and you got to be careful when you hit. And this was probably 6:30, 7 o'clock. I pull in because they fill up. I mean, there's
Oh
so many
yeah.
trucks
Eh,
on the road, and no spot out front. They didn't have an RV, you know, dump station or anything like that. Some of them do, where you've got room up front. So I pull in and I kind of wander around and I find a spot, and it's by a guy who's pulling a travel trailer with a pickup truck, and
mm-hmm.
he's pulled in. He hasn't backed in. He's pulled in. Okay,
Okay.
nosed it in,
Yeah.
which is an odd thing to do back there. So I back in beside him, and he's kind of looking at the rig and everything. And I get out, and I'm like, you know, am I too close? Is everything? Oh, no, no. He says, you're fine. You have a brake locked up on your tag axle.
Oh wow.
Okay. And he grabs a flashlight. He's 45 years old. He crawls down underneath, and the thing is steaming. The thing is steaming. Now, tag axle,
What was your TPMS saying?
it hadn't
Temperature
picked up.
wise.
It hadn't picked up. It hadn't. This is a big old hub. I mean, this brake hub is 14, 16 inches in diameter.
Okay.
Let me say it this way. I wasn't watching it. I didn't have sense to go in and go, whoa, let me go check my tire monitor. But I hadn't received any kind of notification. In other words, it hadn't picked up. I think I've got it set to 130, something
Okay.
like that, and hadn't
Okay.
picked anything up. And he says, well, it's not a, it looks like your brake shoes have simply come loose and fallen down and they're riding. So they're not applying brakes. Okay. And he says, if you go across the road to the petrol, they'll work on it. Don't talk to them in here, because the minute, even though it's a semi, but the minute they hear it's a motorhome, they won't work on it. So went to the petrol, walked across, said, hey, can I get in the morning? This is what I got. And 8 o'clock in the morning, they call me. I wheel it in. 15 minutes, they said, yeah, it's not a problem with your brakes. It's a problem with your wheel bearing. It's not a drive axle, so it's just like a trailer. Got a spindle, got a hub, got a bearing. Um, and they said, come here. And what would you, so he put my hand on the tire. So the tire's like this. And when you hit the brake, it was doing this. So really what had happened was it was going down the road like this and dragging the shoe on. So thank
Ooh.
goodness
Okay.
that guy had nosed in of all the things. Thank goodness I'd parked in that spot. And they go, well, you know, it's going to be from $500 to $3,500 if we got to replace the spindle. And I said, well, let's get to work. And it took them about a half hour to tear it apart. They get in, the brakes are fine, all the hardware is fine, the hub is fine. The bearing had just started to go. Just started to go.
You've been lucky on this trip, I have
The
to say.
the whole trip. Absolutely. No, that was, and that was the whole thing. And if you're doing this alongside the road, um, yeah, you're probably going to be towed, because they're not going to replace a wheel bearing
Right.
on the road. They're just not going to.
Too
It's not safe,
dangerous.
too dangerous. And I don't know if you've priced wreckers coming out, even if it's a 10-mile pull. I mean, it's going to cost you probably $3,000 to get them out there to hook up. let alone
So,
tow you.
Doug, that's why I carry two forms of roadside. Actually, yeah, two forms of roadside assistance. I carry a product called CoachNet, which will tow you 50 miles maximum for free.
Okay. Okay.
And I carry Good Sam roadside assistance, and I don't know how far they will tow you. Knock on wood back here. I'm knocking on some wood. I've not had to use that type of roadside assistance yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't towing a car like you do,
Right,
which to me is a great insurance policy. Had that occurred in the parking lot at the rest stop, I would have just unloaded the car and hooked the car, drove to the Tractor Supply and got what I needed.
right, right.
You
But
know,
you weren't in
so
this
there's
trip. You didn't have your trailer with you, did you?
no,
So you
no,
didn't
no.
have
I
your
wasn't
car.
towing. No, no, no. So I wasn't towing. So, and the other thing I will tell you, I need to. I'm going to buy a. I use GPS off my phone. You know the trouble that got me into in Mountain Cove. It's time for
Right.
me to invest in a nice GPS system that's truck safe.
Okay. So I travel with the Garmin 895 RV GPS in Birdie B. You can get those on Amazon. You can get them from my friends at Techno RV. And thankfully, you gave me the heads up about Mountain Cove because one GPS was bringing me in the way that you should not go. And I drove that route in my car and I said, Lord have mercy. Thank you for somebody warning me.
Yep, yep, yep. So that's probably my next investment come spring. So
Okay.
end of it all, I get home safe and sound. I'm able to repair the belt tensioner. The truck is
Okay.
still running as good as it's ever run. So done a lot of research. What should I be running for additives? How much should I go to the cetane? All the different things. Um, and took it into the shop. They've got it now. They're going through. They're going to check the other wheel bearing on the other side. Um,
Good.
you know, what was nice is when I popped the hood, I knew I hadn't blown a hose. Every hose on that thing was put on brand new last year.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay. And fan
So
belts too. Yeah.
So I can't preach enough that if you're going to live this lifestyle, if you're going to go up and down the road like full-time RVers do, like you do, like rodeo cowboys do, the you cannot skimp on maintenance. Maintenance is key to keeping yourself rolling smooth. And once a year, I take my RV in for just an annual checkup, annual service, maintenance because it will keep you on the road. It will keep you safe. And for me, RV education and RV safety are two prime things that the Wandering Gypsy RV Life recommends and preaches.
Absolutely. And when we think of these annual maintenance checkups, whether it's changing the oil, I'm taking in for an oil change, they should be going through everything. They should be looking at your front end. They should be adjusting anything that needs adjusted, cleaning anything that needs to be cleaned. That's part of what a oil change is. It isn't just dropping oil. It's looking at tires and inspecting brakes and um, all the things that you need to go down the road and be safe. If you're going to have a
Right.
problem, have it be in your own driveway. That's my or second best, first best, have it be at your repair shop. Have the problem show up at your repair shop.
So when I took Birdie B in to the Tiffin truck shop, Tiffin Service Center, they have a chassis shop. They were driving it into the bay and they heard popping, clicking in the frame. And they checked all of the frame welds and found 4 or 5 frame welds broken. And right there in the chassis shop, they touched them up and repaired them. And the thing about the chassis maintenance is they go through and they give you a 32-point inspection every single time. And that they've caught things that would have been a problem when you're going through up Teton Pass or South Pass or you're out west in Wyoming. So maintenance is key to the A, longevity of your rig, B, your personal safety.
That, yep, yep, yep. Man, if you've ever stood on the side of the road, you only need to do that once to go, I need a better maintenance program.
Well, the last time I sat on the side of the road was in Egypt, Wyoming. I mean, I was in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and I had run over a cable in Bertha. And that cable was about a half-inch thick stranded wire. It's one that they use for guardrails, so to speak, or tension the telephone poles. It wrapped around the axle on the tow car, and I sat for 4 hours waiting on somebody to come with a jack and to pull the wheel off and untangle that mess. Thankfully, it didn't do any damage to the tow car, didn't do any damage to the RV other than take out a wire on a leveling jack, which was an easy fix. But no, you do not want, for any reason, you do not want to be sitting on the side of the road anywhere.
And you bring up a great point, whether it's cables or tire casings, that come off
Yes,
semis. I mean, there's so much debris, and man, these are steel belted, these tires that are the treads are off, you know, um, easy to puncture a tire, easy to put it up into your cooling system. Um, yeah, easy to pick things up and cause a mess. So heads up, I guess, when you're driving, look as far forward as you can.
that's it. And when in these RVs, if you run over one of those alligators, as they're called, um, they can go flying underneath your RV where there are hoses for water. There's your fresh and black and gray tanks. They could do all sorts of damage underneath your RV. So pay attention out there and try to avoid as much as you can. Sometimes things are unavoidable. We all
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly right. So you're right. This whole trip, number one, it was just wonderful to meet all the people we met on this trip. A bunch of shows are going to be coming out over the next few months. After I saw you, in Mountain Cove, I headed up to St. Tite, Quebec, to that 10-day rodeo up there, and got a bunch of great shows out of there. Went to Mike Swearingen's rodeo reunion up by Rochester, New York, for 2 days, and a bunch of content up there as well. So um, out and about and with this Texas swing,
Yes.
pretty cool, pretty cool.
And
And
and I
and
got to
our
give a shout out to Dalen Swearingen. He actually has gotten better at talking.
Did you like his episode?
I did.
Yeah,
But
yeah, he was fun. He was fun.
yeah, yeah. I talked to Sam this week, and he said Dalen has figured out he's got a voice, and Sam was pretty impressed, quite
Mhm.
frankly.
You bet. You bet. So lots of shows coming out. Beyond the Chutes, brought to you by Parasite System.
And the
There you go.
Wandering Gypsy RV Life.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of great sponsors, a lot of great folks help us go down the road and collect these stories. And like what you do, these stories, this information matters. So
They
thank
they
you.
do. Information matters. And you don't have a copy of my book yet, Doug, do you?
I do. I have your first book. I do. You
Okay.
gave it. Yep, yep, yep. And thank you for that. And uh, it belongs on everybody's bookshelf. If you're running down the road, I don't care if it's a motor home or a truck and trailer, pulling a car on a trailer. I don't, pickup truck. I don't. It doesn't matter. get this book. Number one, it's a very enjoyable read, and a lot of great stories and a lot of great bits of wisdom. Probably is the best way to say it.
So, I have book one. It's called Rolling Smooth: How to Enjoy the RV Life Without Losing Your Cool. And it's basically how to get into this lifestyle, whether you want to be a full timer, a part timer, a seasonal traveler. Um, book two is Rolling Smooth: Keeping Your Rig Road Ready. And I go through all of the systems from the freshwater tank all the way through slides, leveling, weights, and tire maintenance, all of those things. And book three is from breakdowns to belly laughs. And in that book, that's just nothing but stories, like the Wyoming incident where I ran over the cable, or as people have heard now, and I think we opened the show with this, the Mountain Cove Rodeo reunion where an old rodeo clown called me up because he had hooked his water hose up to his black tank flush instead of his city water connection. So, a lot of great stories. The road will provide you all the stories. It will provide you everywhere you go. You'll see something new, you'll learn something new, and the United States has so much to see. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thank you for recording all your memories as you go down the road and your adventures. Fun to listen to and always informative. I've made, based on your advice, I've made quite a few upgrades to the BTC bus this summer.
I do, and Doug, I always look forward to sitting down with you and talking with you because you're doing something that not many people are doing, and that is getting the stories of the rodeo cowboys who, in the next few years, may not be here to tell them any longer. You are a walking rodeo historian for the International Professional Rodeo Association, and my hat's off to you for that.
Well, thank you for that. And I got to tell you personally, I'm so glad I do this. The people that I've met and the relationships that I've made, and there's something there's something that is really deeply connecting when you sit and listen to somebody tell their story. And you reflect on what you're hearing in a way so they know you're listening and you're understanding and you're paying attention to them. There's a saying, we all just want to be heard, right?
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. But, you know, I I listened to the Mike Duplessis episode last night,
Yeah,
and it was like spoiler alert, folks. You gotta listen to these three episodes that Doug recorded with Mike Duplessis, and the three episodes he recorded with his wife Marilyn Duplessis. They tell the stories, and there was one story in there where they were somewhere, and the entire Florida State football team picked a fight with them and ended up going to jail. And $230 fine later, Mike gets on the road and he says, I didn't let the gravel go slow under my feet. He said, we went out of town at a trot.
that's right. Get out while the getting's good.
That
And
was it.
in all these stories, at all, there's always the traveling stories and trucks breaking down and vans breaking down. And my favorite was in Maryland's uh, uh, episode. She talked about when she met Mike in the van he was traveling in Detroit, and they had taken duct tape and put it over the red engine light because it was too bright. Rather than
Yes,
fix something, they just taped it over. So kind of counter to what we've been talking about here today.
totally counter to what we've been talking about. Totally counter to what we've been talking about. But, hey, back in the 60s, early 70s, because that's the time frame we're talking about with Mike and Marilyn, I was And then in Maryland's episode, they threw Dan out on the interstate at 70
Oh,
miles an
crazy.
hour.
Oh my gosh, crazy stories. Uh, yeah, yeah, and how she got the horse and the magnificent animal that it was. I mean, just unbelievable. Just
Yep,
unbelievable. Yeah.
yep. And I've got to say one more thing about RVs and RV. Watch your surroundings. I was leaving Ocean Lakes Campground on Sunday. I had pulled up in parallel park so that I could hook up Rosie so that I could head down here to Davie, Florida. I had given a fellow RVer about 220 feet he was behind me to pull out and clear me fairly easily. And he got a little bit distracted with golf carts and things running by. And lo and behold, scraped his awning on the driver's side rear and broke his awning and just scraped down the entire side of the RV. Luckily, it was just sheet metal damage, fiberglass damage, nothing critical. So pay attention to your driving. You've got to always be diligent when you're driving.
Yep. And to that point, make sure your insurance is current and premiums are paid.
Amen. Amen. So, Doug, I want to say thank you for joining us today on the Wandering Gypsy RV Life podcast. It's always fun. It's always real. We love telling stories, even on ourselves. I've told a few on myself. And speaking of that incident, I had somebody ask me, "Why aren't you angry?" It was a bystander there. I said, "Because it's the RV life. Stuff
Yep.
happens."
Stuff happens for sure. Yep. Yep.
But Doug, anything you want to anybody you want to give a shout out to? Promote your podcast, Beyond the Chutes.
Yeah, anywhere that you find podcasts, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcast, or we're on YouTube. We've got a bunch of stuff up there. I think our 161st show went up this week. 90% of it's, as you described, about the cowboys and the cowgirls, and whether it's in the arena or behind the arena, whether it's an announcer or a secretary or a timer or a competitor. We talk to folks and we gather as much history as we possibly can. That's been our goal. So if you enjoy good history, if you enjoy good storytellers, we're so blessed to have so many great storytellers on the show. Come find us. You can find us on the web, Beyond the Chutes, and that's CHUTES.show. We're on Facebook, BTC, Beyond the Chutes. I've got a Facebook page. Come follow, subscribe, do everything you do. You know how it goes, Stan. You want to be notified when this stuff comes out. We try to put a show out every Tuesday afternoon, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I promise you, there's a bunch of great shows coming out of this. Texas Swing, the St. Tite visit, Mountain Cove. We still got to do that. And there's a bunch of shows in the can that we're in process of editing right now.
So this show will go up Saturday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's available just everywhere Beyond the Chutes is available. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Find us. We've got Facebook, Instagram. I follow Doug everywhere he goes. His content is excellent. Check us both out wherever you get your podcast. And Doug, I'm going to close it out. Thank you for tuning in to the Wandering Gypsy RV Life podcast. I'm your host, Stan Cromlish, coming to you from Birdie B. Have a great day.